The official trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is here, and today we're gonna break down every secret and Easter egg you could find. Number 1 happens as the trailer begins. We immediately spot a ton of references in just a single shot. Look very closely at the back of their van, and you'll notice a strange license plate reading, "I see dead P." If you've seen The Sixth Sense, you can already tell this is a nod to one of the most famous lines in horror movie history.
I see dead people.
Maybe you just know this because of Kendrick Lamar, who knows, but the P at the end of this license plate could also be an E. It is too low and far from the camera to tell, but if this is an E, then some fans think this whole thing reads ICDD, and that's a reference to an animatronic from FNAF world. This was a spin-off game from 2016 which had a ridiculous amount of new characters, including Dee Dee, who ran her own fishing spot. Considering the FNAF location in this film seems to be surrounded by swamps and water, it might be referencing her after all. But it's not just the license plate we're focused on. What about the entire van? Well, this isn't the first time we've seen characters fleeing a location in a blue van. This is famously similar to the most recent FNAF game, Secret of the Mimic. Clearly, this whole sequence is a reference to the Fazbear van, and later in the trailer, they recreate the secret ending of that game. But I'll get to that soon, because at the end of the trailer, you could spot Mike turn around and see a Freddy Fazbear mask on the chair. When he hears something approaching him, he rushes to grab it and then puts the mask on. And to anyone who's played FNAF 2, this next shot is gonna look really familiar.
There's no way that'll work.
Yeah, not only did they keep the fact that masks can distract animatronics, they even recreated exactly what it looks like when you put on the mask in the game. Now let's talk about one of the coolest villains in the whole trailer. For just a couple of seconds, you can see Mangle on top of the car, and this goes by so quickly that I need to slow it down just to show it to you. Mangle looks exactly the same as FNAF 2 and fans are loving it, but this moment isn't just important because it gives us our first look. What Mangle does next is also a reference to the latest game. For an even quicker second, the next shot is their claw blasting through the windshield, and it's actually a fun callback to the true ending of Secret of the Mimic. And that's not the only direct callback. Everyone's been talking about the new toy in the film called the Faz Talker. Now, while this hasn't showed up in any FNAF games before, wait until you hear it speak.
Come find us. I will show you the way.
That sounds familiar. It's because the voice of the Faz Talker is the exact same voice you hear in FNAF 2 that only appears during those creepy mini games. Of course, I couldn't make this video without talking about the puppet, or as we used to call it back in the day, the marionette. Here we first see a ton of puppet dolls in the water ride scattered around the caves. Then during the found footage scenes, you could also see another plush hanging from a shelf. This is where McKenna Grace walks into the basement and discovers a gigantic room with a ton of gears and a gift box. When the present begins to open and she looks up, take a glance at the floor, where you'll see an open music box, which probably triggered this whole thing. Of course, whatever she sees makes her terrified, and it's obviously the puppet she just unleashed. As the trailer goes on, we go from spotting the puppet in a plush doll form to the real thing stalking Vanessa. At first, it's just hands crawling over the balcony, but then the real thing is right behind her. And I think this just reinforces that the puppet is one of the scariest enemies in like the entire franchise. I mean, look at this thing. If you don't follow the game's storyline, the puppet's actually possessed by a child named Charlotte, and it's possible you could actually see Charlotte in the trailer. This girl screaming could be her. For more evidence on that, you hear the VHS gang saying this at the start of the trailer.
Some little girl got murdered here.
But that's not the only reason you should be paying attention with your ears, because when Mike gets jump scared by withered Chica, listen closely. Yeah, it's a pitched up version of the iconic Foxy jump scare sound. And yes, you saw it, that is withered Chica. Not only are the toy versions of all the FNAF 2 animatronics in this movie, they've really gone all out to recreate the withered ones too, and it's not just Chica. You'll also spot withered Bonnie in the vents, missing his entire face, and man, he looks just as creepy in real life. Unfortunately, I've also learned they could get even creepier than that. If you played FNAF 2, you know that what we see in this trailer is not the final form of Toy Chica. She looks perfectly intact in every shot, except when you look at Abby's drawings on the wall, she's decided to sketch Toy Chica with no eyes and then no beak. You could easily pass this off as it just being a silly kid's drawing, except this is actually our first confirmation that Chica will get her beak and eyes ripped out. And that's just like what happened in FNAF 2. As you can see, she is way scarier without it. Someone who isn't damaged could be spotted in a hallway scene when William Afton is chasing someone with a knife. I know it's a likely thing for him to be doing, but people have noticed that his suit is entirely unfazed. This means this is a flashback scene to before the events of the first movie. And I haven't even brought up the fact that Balloon Boy makes his theatrical debut in this trailer. Of course, you see him here at the very start of it, but it's only in the form of a statue. Sadly, we don't get to see what he actually looks like running around, except if you pay attention when the VHS gang are in the water, that little propeller hat could only mean one thing. That's right, Balloon Boy was already creepy, but now he's acting like that shark from Jaws. Did you also spot the iconic secret in this trailer that has every FNAF fan freaking out? At the very end, when Mike glances down the hallway, just look closely at the area. Looks like any other Fazbear pizzeria, right? Well, imagine looking at this place from Mike's perspective. It would be a one-to-one recreation of the office from the game, and where the camera is the dark hallway that some of the animatronics come from. But not everything is exactly the way we remember it. Blumhouse have made some major changes to the layout of the FNAF 2 pizzeria, and you can see a map behind Mike that shows it. As you can see, there's a huge water section here, and yes, it is the same one that flows through the cave with the puppet dolls. Looks like some kind of log flume ride. And if you look at the back at the VHS footage, you'll see them recording Foxy's pirate ship in a ball pit. So combining those ideas together, MR Springs has suggested that this might be an early version of the Foxy log ride from Security Breach's DLC Ruin. For this next detail, I am putting on my tinfoil hat, because if you look at this exterior shot of Abby's house, you'll notice that her house numbers is 118. Well, this could be an insane reference to FNAF 2, because in the original game, you get your paycheck at the end of the 5 nights, revealing your name as Jeremy Fitzgerald, and the date is the 12th of November. This means that night 1, the day that all of it starts, is November 8th, possibly explaining the 11-8 you see on Abby's house. So either this is a genius move from the set artist or the biggest coincidence of all. Now, you gotta give this movie props for the insane attention to detail. I mentioned Mangle earlier, but they also appear later in the trailer when they take out one of the VHS guys who broke in. If you've ever been jump scared by Mangle in FNAF 2, you'll know they're the only animatronic that attacks from the ceiling, and they have faithfully kept this in the films. Although more people need to move their eyes away from the trailer and into the video's description, as Blumhouse gave an entire plot summary here while also revealing new cast members we just didn't know about. Like when you go to the very end and read the final name, Skeet Ulrich. This is insane because Skeet and Matthew Lillard, the actor behind William Afton, both played Ghostface in the very first Scream movie, and they are finally reuniting on screen after 29 years. But one of my favorite parts of this whole trailer is how we got to hear Toy Freddy's iconic laugh on the big screen. But I love the person behind him who made their own cupcake. Not really sure if this is some kind of Fazbear festival. We've never really seen how people outside of the games react to Fazbear entertainment or even how popular they are in the real world. So this is one of our first glimpses into what the larger world of FNAF looks like. And it's pretty cool. And as every secret and Easter egg I've found, let me know if I missed one in the comments. It's been Tommy, and keep it here on T5G.